Hi everybody, I'm Adriana and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm super excited to be doing this video. It's a little bit different than the rest of the ones on my channel, but that's the beauty of YouTube. I can talk about pretty much whatever and for some reason someone will listen. So yeah, today I'm going to be talking a little bit about, let me just give you the preface of this whole topic. So a friend of mine on Instagram the other day, she posted on her story asking her followers if they believed in the concept of the right thing at the wrong time. And I don't know why, I just felt like super convicted to say something about it, just because this is something that I've definitely experienced multiple times. I know that this could look totally different for other people. It could be something like getting a vision of the right thing, but it's just not the right time, or maybe you're in a season of waiting, or you are having to trust on God for some reason. But this is definitely something that I felt convicted to talk about, and then after I brought it up to her, I was like, I feel like this is something a lot of people might need to hear. And so today I'm just going to talk about it, and I'm just going to, like, I've already prayed about it. I'm like, God, just like talk through me. I don't even know what I'm saying right now. This is not me. So yeah, but I'm just going to kind of talk about that today and just share some of my experience with that. Like, I'm not a pastor, I'm not like a priest or bishop or whatever it is, but I'm just gonna kind of share my experience with you guys on like the season of waiting that I'm in, and the season of waitings that I've been in, and how I'm able to cling to God in those seasons and trust in Him and prepare my heart for what's to come. So if you're interested, keep watching. Okay, so right thing, wrong time is what she was talking about. And the way I'm just gonna kind of read to you some of what I texted her through Instagram messaging, and then just kind of share my experience and then tell you guys like my tips that I gave to her and my tips that I have for you on how to get through those seasons. So what I told her, because she was talking about right thing at the wrong time, I told her that I think that sometimes we get glimpses of the right situation, opportunity, partner, etc. as part of the vision for our life. So I know that in my life, these glimpses can be super frustrating, because I'm definitely that like I want it now kind of person, like Veruca from Charlie and Chocolate Factory, like that's me. As ashamed as I am to say it, it's definitely me. And you know, like there's a certain urgency where we want everything now. You know, the moment we get an idea of something, we want it now, we want to do it now, we want to see the fruit of it now. But sometimes that takes time. And so I told her these glimpses can often be frustrating because we want whatever it is now, but at times it can leave you more motivated to do the work and become the person that can fully appreciate that thing or that blessing. And so I also think God gives us these glimpses of the right thing at the wrong time to show us the blessings He has for us, but also to challenge us to continue to trust in Him and let Him take the lead in our lives, and trust that He'll bring either that blessing or a better one back around. And so that's kind of like what I'm going to be talking about today. And so I kind of gave her an experience from my life right now. So for example, right now I'm in the position where I am going back into my senior year of college. I'm going back to school, and then after this semester it's who knows what, you know, like, and I'm a very type A. My Enneagram score is a 3, so if that tells you anything about me, there it is. But definitely like I'm a plan kind of girl, and everybody around me knows that. So when they hear that I don't have a plan for what's next, I get lots of questions, and even I question myself, and I'm like, okay, so what's gonna happen next? And I have dreams and I have goals for what's after college, but I don't know, you know, I'm just waiting. And I know that a lot of you out there are probably in that same position where you just don't know what's next. You're just waiting, and you have dreams, and sometimes you get glimpses of, and you can kind of see how close those dreams are, but you just can't have them quite yet. And that is exactly the position I'm in right now. Is my dream for after college is to either have an internship, primarily an internship. I would like to start off in an internship and then go into a full-time job, but that's a whole totally different story. But my dream would be to have an internship in social media with one of the major theme parks. So maybe that be Disney or Universal or anything like that. So that's like my dream right now, and I've been trying to chase this dream and do it while I'm in college too, but things haven't totally worked out. And recently that dream came very, very close, and I saw it, and like an opportunity opened up, and I was like, oh my goodness, like this, I feel like prepared for this, I feel like I could do this. And it was just right there in front of me, like I just needed to act on it. But in my heart, I knew that it was not the right time. Like I would have to take a semester off of school, and I only have a year left, and there's just so many factors. I knew that I had things waiting for me in Gainesville that I needed to do. Just everything, like, it was just so perfect. Like, and it was just right there, and I just knew that if I acted on it, it could be mine, but it just wasn't the right time, and I knew that deep in my heart that now is not the right time, and there was something else that needed to happen first, and I didn't know why, and it was so frustrating because it felt like it was right there, like I could just grab it, and it almost felt like me being the Veruca that I am, wanting it now, I'm like, God, why would you even show me this if you know that I can't have it? You know, I almost felt like a little kid, like, why would you wave the candy in front of my face if you know I can't eat it, you know? So that was so frustrating to me, and I just, like, trying to understand, like, why would I be shown this, or like shown this vision, if what can happen if it's not for me right now? And so that's kind of where I was at. And then I kind of understood, because this is not the first time I've been in this situation. It's not the first time I've had to wait for something. It's not the first time I didn't understand why I was waiting, but I was. When I was on my before I even got my Disney College program, I talked a little bit in my DCP tag video about how I had a really long journey of waiting for my acceptance into the program. And so I had applied early on in this the season, and I was waiting, and I felt like I was waiting forever because I wanted to know now, and I didn't understand why I was waiting, because I knew deep in my heart, I was like, I know this is gonna happen. You ever just have those moments where you're just like, I know this is gonna happen, I know that this is part of the plan, like deep in my soul I know this is part of the plan, so I don't know why I'm waiting for this. And so that's where I was at. I was waiting, and then it came to the day where it was like, today you were going to find out for sure, and then I was waitlisted, and then I was like, how could I possibly wait anymore? And I was so frustrated, and I just didn't understand. I'm like, why? And at that point I was like, you know what, if it's just a no, then just tell me it's a no, you know? And so finally, a couple weeks later, then I finally got my acceptance. And it's not until you get to that point that you realize this needed to happen at this specific time. And if you've ever heard the saying, like, God doesn't come early, he doesn't come late, he always comes right on time. And even though we want things right now is not the best time for that. And so that's kind of where I'm gonna segue into this little, I wrote a bunch of notes because I just felt like there was so much in my head that I had to get down on paper so I could tell you exactly what I was thinking and how I felt convicted about this to its full extent. And so, yes, I was frustrated, and I came up for like these 3 different reasons of why the waiting season was so important, and why sometimes we get these visions even when we can't have them yet. And so the first one is to challenge me to trust him. I can say that I trust God until I'm blue in the face, but it isn't until you're challenged and you are forced to trust him that you're like, oh, do I really trust him, you know? And so that's definitely something that I have been trying to just lean into and grasp fully, and definitely get better at. And so I wrote down some notes, so if you find me looking at my paper, sorry, I'm just trying to like make sure I'm saying everything correctly. But I wrote down here is that, I don't know exactly where I found this quote from, but I don't know if somebody told it to me or if I saw it on like a Pinterest post or something, but it was, for the promises of God, it's not a no, it's yes, not yet, or I have something better. And all of that is to help you trust him better. Like, you have to trust and understand, like, even if it doesn't turn out the way you want, or even if you're waiting longer than you'd like to and it's not happening when you think is ideal, he wants what's best for you, and he knows the plans he has for you, and they are plans for good. And there are verses to support that I can put in here, but like, all of his plans for you are good, and you cannot fathom the things he has planned for you, you know? Like, think about your past, think about before maybe, okay, I know for me when I was in high school, I had all of these plans, like all of these big plans and big dreams, and I could never in a million years have imagined where I am right now. And my plans were good, like I thought they were great. I'm like, yeah, I'm cool with that. That would be an ideal life. But like now where I am right now, looking back, I'm like, that would have sucked, you know? Like what God had planned was so much better, even when I thought I had created the ideal life for myself. And so it's a challenge to trust him. And really, ultimately, do you trust the creator of the entire universe with your life? And a really great book that I suggest to you about this topic is When God Writes Your Love Story. And maybe you're in a relationship or you're not in a relationship, doesn't really matter. I think this book is super beneficial for anyone, even if you're not pursuing anyone at all, because the big foundation of the book is trusting in God and his plan for your life and giving it all to him and like relinquishing it all. And really it comes down to that, like when you're in these seasons of waiting, really analyze yourself and analyze your heart and be like, why am I not at peace about this? Why am I not at peace in the waiting? And if I'm not at peace, am I trusting him? You know, am I trusting him fully with my whole heart, my whole life? Because I know something that I do is I come to God all the time and I'm like, listen, I want to be used for you. You know, I'm just a vessel for you. And I can say that over and over again. And I can say like, use me, use this, use everything that I make and use it for your glory. But if I truly believe that, why am I getting upset and why am I not at peace when things don't look the way I thought they would? You know, like if I want to give my life to God and I want to say, hey, take it all for you, then why am I getting upset when he's not doing it the way I want it? You know, he's doing it the way he wants it, you know? So I think the waiting season is a perfect time to figure out and work on your trust in him. Like trust in him and figure out, what does he say about me? What does he say about his plans for me in the Bible? Get deep into the word. A really great example I have of this is from the book of Habakkuk. I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but you know what I'm talking about. But from the book of Habakkuk, and this example I have is a little bit different. It's a great example of trusting in God, but I do want to preface that I am taking it a little bit out of context, and like I'm going to read it to you first and then I'll tell you what I mean. But I'm taking it a little bit out of context, but I'm not like changing the way it was intended. I'm just saying how like you could apply this to your life. And in Habakkuk 2:2, okay, so it starts with Habakkuk 2:2. And it says, and the Lord answered me, write the vision, make it plain on tablets, so he may run who reads it. And then Habakkuk 2:3 says, for the vision awaits its appointed time. It hastens to the end, it will not lie. If it seems slow, wait for it. It will surely come, it will not delay. Habakkuk 4, behold, his soul is puffed up. It is not upright with him, but the righteous shall live by his faith. So I absolutely love this, but I just want to preface that like in this specific context of what was happening, like the vision that God was talking about here to Habakkuk was like the vision with like the Babylonians and Israel, and like the war that was happening and all of the chaos. And this was between Habakkuk and God, like he was lamenting to him and God is answering him. So that's kind of what was happening around this time here. So the vision God's talking about here is different than, like, he's not talking to us here, he's talking to Habakkuk. But I think that there is much to be found in this passage, even if it's not being directly stated to you and me, you know what I mean? Because God can give us visions for what he wants to do in our lives, you know? Like sometimes you just have that soul feeling and you're just like, this is gonna happen, you know? Like that's meant for me, like that's my blessing, or like that's what I'm meant to do. Or like sometimes there's just like promises that God puts on your heart and it lines up with his plan for the kingdom, and you're just like, yes, like I know deep down in my soul, like this is what's meant to happen, this is what's gonna happen. And whether that could look so different for everyone, that could be in a relationship, that could be in a job, that could be in an opportunity or an experience, or literally anything, just that could mean so many different things for people. But it says, for still the vision awaits its appointed time. And God has this whole little game board, right, of our lives, of his people, and in order for him to execute what he needs to execute, he has to make sure everybody is in their spots at the right time. It's like a choreography for a dance, you know? if you have a big dance team, like everybody needs to be in their spot at the right time. Or like a cheerleading team. I was in cheerleading in high school, so we're talking about that. Like if you are like on the mat and you have to be at this specific position to get to this spot at the right time to do your little dance or maybe your stunt or whatever it is, everybody needs to be in their spot at the right time in order for things to go the way it's planned to. And it's the exact same way for God, you know? So like, it waits its appointed time because there's a specific time for this. And even though it's not the time that I want and it's not the time that I imagine to be ideal, it's not all about me, you know? Like there are other people who need to be in their spots. There are other situations that need to happen first. There are other experiences I need to have first, and I need to trust that he knows better than I do, and I need to trust that he knows whether or not I'm ready or whether or not the other person, maybe it's in a relationship, maybe your partner is ready, or maybe a situation is ready for you, or a workplace is ready for you. And so the vision awaits its appointed time. So when you're waiting and trusting on God and you have that right thing, but it feels like the wrong time, you have to trust that it's gonna happen in the time that it's supposed to happen. And it hastens to the end, it will not lie. It seems slow, wait for it. Wait for it. And I'm going to talk a little bit later about what you can be doing in the waiting, but you have to wait for it, you know? Like, you don't want a cake before it's done baking, you know? I mean, cake batter's great, but it's like what we imagine for our futures, and like our whole I want it now mentality is like, I want the cake batter. And I mean, cake batter's great. Yeah, I agree. Cake batter tastes awesome. But a cake is so much better, and like God has cake for you, you know? And like, I'm sorry, that's like the cheesiest example ever, but it's so true, you know? Like, we have to wait for it, and it feels like forever when you're waiting for it because you know it's going to be even better when it comes out of the oven, but you have to wait for it to get it in its fullness, you know what I mean? And so all of that is just trusting him and knowing that it will surely come. This is the next little portion. It will surely come. It will not delay. It will come, and it will come right on time. Not early, not late. It'll come right on time. And if you ever need a reminder of it, look at everything else you waited for in your past, because it's always come right on time. And he's never come late, and he's never fall through. And then it says, behold, his soul is puffed up. It is not upright with him. And that's okay. You know, sometimes it's not going to feel right with you, you know? Like, we are very self-centered beings, and we care very much about the self. And I feel like when you come before Jesus, you have to like strip yourself of yourself and ask for him to replace all of that with him, you know, and a desire for him and his ways and his timing. And so we have to live by faith, and we have to live faith knowing that he is faithful and trusting in his time and what he's doing, even when we can't see it, even when we're waiting. And so that was like my little rant about that. And that, I think that's just an excellent passage about waiting and waiting for the right time for something and trusting, knowing that he has it all under control. That was the first one for me to challenge me to trust him. And the second thing that kind of gets me through these times of waiting and understanding that maybe something is the right thing, but it's just not the right time, and I need to wait for it, is something you can do in the waiting is realize maybe you're not ready for that thing yet. You know, like, you might feel ready mentally, or like you might feel like your heart is ready for it, or spiritually, professionally, whatever it is. But if you're waiting, there's something you could be doing in the waiting to prepare yourself for that. And this I think about with my Disney college program is I used to tell myself, I'm like, God, I don't know why I'm waiting for this, or I don't know why I would get a no from this, because I know, and I tell you all the time, like, use me in this situation, and you know, like, I'm a vessel for you, and you can do so much through me in this place. And I would tell him that, and that's kind of like how I would try to get what I want. I'm like, no, you can use me here, you know? Like, I'm sure, like, I know I'm not the only person who's done that. Like, when you really want something, you're like, oh, like, try to entice God and be like, ooh, look at the ways you can use me in this situation. And so that might sound crazy, but I know I'm not the only one for that one. But you kind of like do that to justify with yourself and like justify with God, like, no, you want this for me too, you know? And so I'm telling him, like, oh, you can use me here. But I wasn't preparing myself to be used in that situation. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't digging into the word the way I should have to be prepared for the way he's going to use me in that situation, you know? And that could look so many different ways. Like, if you are like waiting for a relationship, or if you're waiting for a spouse, or if you're waiting for a partner and you're frustrated and you're waiting, what are you doing in the waiting? You know, like, you should be so busy in the waiting that you don't even realize you're waiting. And I know that's so much easier said than done. Like, I'm not a perfect example of this, like that's why I'm talking about it, because I struggle with this and I'm sure you do too. But there's so much you can be doing in the waiting, and if you're waiting for a spouse or a partner or whatever it is, like, are you praying for your future spouse? Are you praying for yourself and praying that you'll be able to love this person like Jesus loves the church, you know, because that's what we were called to do? Or are you praying that, like, this person is, like, prepared and that they can handle all that comes with being in this union, you know? Like, how are you preparing yourself for what you want, you know? And this could also look different for a job. Like, you may be prepared, like, in your head, like your resume might look perfect and your portfolio might look perfect, but are you prepared for the amount of work that that's going to be? Are you prepared for the workplace, the culture of the place that's going to be, you know? Like, how are you preparing yourself for what you're waiting for? And when you're waiting, you should be so busy preparing yourself, and preparing yourself not just, like, whether it be for the job and preparing your resume, or preparing, I don't know, what are other things people wait for? Just whatever you're waiting for, you know? Like, don't just prepare yourself in the earthly things, prepare yourself spiritually too, you know? Like, you need to be prepared spiritually, because you can't get through things on your own, you know? You need him to get through things, and while you're waiting, you should be so busy, like, working at it, working at things in the flesh, you know, working to make yourself better that way, but also getting closer to God, that you shouldn't even realize that you're waiting, you know? And then when it comes, you'll know this is a good time, because this was the time it's supposed to happen, and I'm ready now for this. And even if you're not ready for it, he's gonna make you ready for it. So this is something I wrote down that definitely, like, spoke to me when I was waiting for my Disney college program. And it was, if he's not the center of your life right now, how are you going to make him the center of this thing? And that's definitely something that like was very clear to me in that time. And it came clear to me because I was like, I'm waiting for this thing, and I'm like waiting for it, but am I preparing for it? And how am I gonna justify with him, telling him that, oh, you can use me and this whole thing is gonna be about glorifying you, when I'm not preparing to do that right now, you know? So that's just something that maybe you're waiting and you just need to reassess why you're waiting and think about, okay, I need to use this time, and I need to get my heart, my soul, my spirit, I need to get myself mentally, physically ready for the demands of this blessing that I'm waiting for. And this is the third one. If you are ready and you feel like you're good, you feel like you are ready for the situation, you're probably not. Just gonna put that out there. But even if you are, maybe the situation isn't ready for you. And I touched on this a little bit earlier, but something that's really important to remember, especially for me, and I'm being very vulnerable with you, because nobody wants to say that they feel this way, but like or that you have to remind yourself this, but sometimes you have to. And it's not all about you, you know? And I know sometimes when we are in, like, our quiet time with God, and we're praying and we're talking about things, and like we have these dreams and these plans, we tend to think like it's all very self-centered, you know? Like, it's all very like, for me, like, how's this gonna better me? How is this gonna better my life? How's this gonna bless me? But like that, I mean, God cares about you and he loves you and he wants what's best for you, but you have to remember there's way more people on this planet than there is you, you know? And that's something I have to remember. So I have to remember, even though I feel ready for this, and I feel ready for this to go into this situation or for this blessing, maybe the other people that affects isn't, you know? And so you have to remind yourself that he's doing something. He's doing something. There's a bigger purpose, and there's a bigger reason for what's going on and for the waiting than you realize. And like I was saying before, is he's moving things around, and he's putting people in their appointed places, and he's putting everything in its appointed time and its appointed position. He's creating the perfect playbook for this situation, and that requires waiting, you know? You have to wait for people to be ready to work together, you know? Again, like I was saying before, is he's doing a big thing, you know? Like, he's orchestrating everything for a specific purpose that's going to glorify the kingdom, you know? Somehow, some way, everything is going to glorify him. And you have to remember that it's not all about you, and sometimes other people need to be in their right position before everything can happen, you know? Like, everyone needs to be in their right spots, ready to go, before something can happen to its full fruition, and that takes time. So while you're waiting, when you're frustrated and you feel ready and you feel like, man, why isn't this just happening already? You have to remember, maybe that situation isn't ready for you, and maybe it's just not done yet, you know? Like, maybe we need to wait, because again, I'm gonna go back to, I know like a lot of people come after this like thought and they have these feelings when it's for like a relationship, like maybe you're ready but maybe your partner isn't, you know, like maybe they're not the person they need to be yet to enter into that union with you. Or maybe you're ready for this job but that workplace isn't, you know, like maybe they can't see the value in what you can bring to that team just yet. Like you don't want to go into a place where you're not going to be valued yet, you know. Or like maybe they don't understand a need for that, or maybe the company culture isn't ready for your kind of personality, you know what I mean? And that could go so many different ways. Or it's just with anything at all. And even when you're lacking vision and you don't know what's coming up next, sometimes you don't need to have that vision. And so that's just something like to keep in mind and just help make the waiting a little bit better when you realize, okay, it's not all about me. Obviously I want this right now, but I have to trust that he knows what he's doing, and all this boils down to trust, all of it. So that's kind of like the bulk of what I had for this. I just kind of wanted to talk about it, and I feel like I'm kind of rambling, but I hope that some of this kind of like settled well in your heart and like gives you some peace and like what to do in the waiting season and when you see the right thing but it's just not the right time yet. But I also wanted to talk a little bit to you guys who are lacking vision and you don't know what's coming up, because like everybody has dreams, everybody has goals, everybody has plans, but God has his own thing that he wants to do. And we have to be at peace with that, knowing that what he's going to do is better than what we could dream up for ourselves. And I think when I face a time where I'm lacking vision and I'm just like, I have no idea what's next, like that can be stressful for a lot of people, especially us control freaks. And I think it's so important to remember that like there's so much beauty in not having a plan. You know, there's so much beauty in not knowing what's next. There's so much freedom in that, and that's just because like you are forced to fully trust him and fully give into him and fully say, you know what, I don't know what's gonna happen, I don't know what's happening at all, but you do, and you've got it, and you're gonna make sure it's under control. So this is like, it's a beautiful, beautiful time in your life. Even if it's frustrating and stressful, you have to realize that it's such a beautiful time to grow near to God, because you don't need that vision just yet, you know? Like if you don't know what it is right now, and if you don't have the vision to what's coming up next just yet, it's probably because there's something you need to focus on right now, and that's only going to distract you, or because you're going to stress out so much over that when you just need to trust him right now. You need to trust him right now, knowing that he's got it taken care of, and you just need to keep talking to him and be in a relationship with him to figure out, okay, I'm not going to worry about what's coming up next, because I have something that you need me to do right now. You know, like there is some purpose in what position I'm in right now that you need me to do, and you need me to be ready for, or you need me to work on right in this moment. And that has a lot to do with contentment and being content with where you are, and being content in not knowing what's happening next, or being content in the place or the position or like the stage of life that you're in right now, and just trying to really suck dry the situation that you're in and get as much as you can out of it, you know? So that's kind of what I have to say about like vision for the future and trusting in God for like today. And I just wanted to leave you off with a couple of Bible verses. So one of them is Proverbs 3:5-6, and it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. So this is so good. And like obviously all the word is so good, but this is so good because it says trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. We don't know anything. Like our understanding is so, well, that was a dramatic hair flip, but our understanding is so twisted and clouded and messed up by the ways of the world that we can't fully understand or grasp the way he thinks and what he wants and what he has planned, you know? So think about all of the times that you made a stupid decision because you were leaning on your own understanding. Yeah, you don't want to do that again. Or at least I know I don't. I've made plenty of dumb decisions that I don't want to do again, and that's because I was leaning on myself and I was trying to make decisions for myself. So if you don't lean on your own understanding, lean on his. Trust in him, put your faith in him, and acknowledge him, and he will make things straight. He'll take care of it, you know? But it's all about understanding that you cannot lean on your own understanding. Hope that wasn't confusing, but you get what I'm saying. All right, so the next verse that I wanted to bring up to you guys that really helps me in these times is John 13:7, and it says, Jesus answered him, what I am doing you do not understand now, but afterward you will understand. Again, understanding. You don't understand. You will not understand. You can't understand what he's doing right now because there's so many different players and different positions and different things that he's moving around and putting into place. You just can't, you can't grasp it. You know, we just can't fully imagine the way everything, it's all a domino effect, how one thing affects the other, affects the other, affects the other. It's all connected, and all of it has to be in the right place to be orchestrated the way he intends it to be. And we just can't understand it, and we're not going to understand what he's doing now, but someday you will. And someday you'll see why the waiting was important. Someday you'll see why you didn't have vision for something, and why that season where you felt so so lacking in vision and so like you can't see what the future has because something needed your attention right there, or whatever it is, whether it's waiting or attention or anything that we talked about today. Like, you don't understand right now, but someday you will, and you'll see how God was working in that situation. And if you ever need a reminder of that, like, literally look into your own past, because there is a moment in every single person's life where you've already gone through this. And if you look back on it, you'll be like, wow, God came in at just the right time. Like, it was perfect. It could not have been any better. Or, wow, that was so much better than I could have ever imagined. Or just look at where you are right now. Like, could you ever imagine where you are right now? And whether it's a good place or a bad place, you might not understand it. You don't understand how you got here, but you will someday. And if it's a good place and you're like, wow, I could have never imagined this for myself, that's because of him, you know? So yeah, that was kind of all over the place. And oh wait, I have one more. I wrote down another verse. Okay, the next verse that I have for you was Philippians 4:11-13. Not that I am speaking of being in need, for I have learned in whatever situation I am to be content. Keyword, content. I know how to be brought low, and I know how to abound. In any and every circumstance, I have learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger, abundance and need. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. And I feel like that is like a very, very basic verse. I know that's like everybody's favorite Bible verse, but you know what it's like to be high, and you know what it's like to be low, and you know what it's like to be waiting, and you know what it's like to be in the perfect situation. And so just wait in the Lord and be content in where you are and trust in him, and you will see the abundance of what he has. You will see his blessing eventually. You just have to trust and understand that what he's doing is so much better and so much bigger than you, you know? So now that was all that I had for today. Now, I hope that that speaks to someone. I hope that that brings peace to you. I hope that that helps you find peace in this time, or helps you just kind of understand a little bit more of like what God is doing and how he can do things in your life. Yeah. I don't know, I just felt like this was really like hard. Like, I just really needed to say something about this, just because that was definitely, when she brought that up, like I just felt like so convicted, like I needed to say something about it. And maybe I just needed to say it to her. Maybe I didn't need to make this video at all, you know? Maybe this is not gonna help anyone. I mean, I doubt it, because God's word never goes empty, you know? Like, always a fruit can come out of it. But yeah, so I hope this helped you. If it did, let me know down below. If you have any more tips to finding contentment and peace in the waiting, please comment that down below, because I know it'll help somebody. And if you guys like this, like me talking about, you know, Jesus in the Bible, like definitely let me know. I'm probably gonna do it anyways, because that's what I was called to do as a follower of Christ. But I would really love to know if somebody actually finds any, I don't know, comfort in this, I guess. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and yeah. Oh, also, I'm almost at 2,000 subscribers. I will probably hit 2,000 subscribers today, which blows my mind, and I'm absolutely like, woo, mind blown about it, because that's crazy. But I just want to say thank you, because that's so awesome. And like, now I have all these friends on here who are just gonna listen to me chat and ramble, but it's awesome when you guys comment, because then I feel like I'm actually talking to someone and I'm not just talking your ear off all the time, which I can do. That's very easy for me. So anyways, yes, thank you so much. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.